equal, with liberty and justice for all.
So you told her to be here today. I said she best be here.
Mr. Frank?
Here.
Mr. Friedman? Mr. Greenspan? Mrs. McKeo? Here. Mr. Seidler? Here. Mr. Silver? Here. Mr. Tipp?
Here.
Mr. Slatkin?
Here.
Mr. Grunheim?
Here.
We'll read the statement, opening statement. Pursuant to the provisions of Chapter 231 of the laws of 1976, the Open Public Meetings Act, Ms. Miller notified the public that notice of the date, time, location, and agenda of this meeting, to the extent known, was provided at least 48 hours prior to the commencement of this meeting in the following manner. By posting such notice on the public announcement board of the Lakewood Board of Education offices in the Lakewood Township Municipal Building. 2, by mailing such notice to the offices of the Asbury Park Press and the Tri-Town News. 3, by filing such notice with the board secretary. 4, by filing such notice to all individuals who requested and paid for a copy of statement.
Good evening, everyone. We'd like to take this opportunity to have a program that has been used in our schools. It's a technology program that, when we looked at the results, the children have been progressing a great deal. Many of you know, many of the audience know that the program is called Achieve 3000. Today, they have come forward to give us an overview of preparing for the Common Core state standards, which are being revitalized, and we really have to become very aware of it. And we have a representative from Achieve 3000 who will take no more than 10 to 15 minutes. Thank you very much for coming.
Great. Thank you very much. It's an honor. My name is Kevin Baird, and I am a consultant with Achieve 3000. I'm also chairman of something called the Common Core Institute. I don't know how many of you here have heard about the Common Core standards, but essentially across the United States, our business communities and our governors, our leaders have gotten together and they have said that we need to raise the bar to help our students become more competitive. And so state by state, they have adopted what are called the Common Core standards. And they're really quite different from the standards that we know today. So our students today, they take tests in New Jersey, and they are held accountable, as are our teachers and our staff, to the New Jersey standards. But in 3 years, 3 short years, they will be accountable to the new Common Core standards. What I'd like to do is give you a sense of why those standards were created. I work with an organization called the Council of Chief State School Officers in Washington, D.C. They're the author of the standards. And I'd like to give you a sense of what's already happening here in Lakewood. In a very interesting way, you are in a catbird spot, a very unique spot in the country. Because Achieve 3000, this little company, if you will, here in Lakewood, is actually providing more students with Common Core standards content than any other publisher in the United States today, 1 million kids. And I apologize, my clicky broke, so we have to go like this. It's all about the clicky, right? Why do we care? Why do we care about these things called the Common Core State Standards? Why did the Chamber of Commerce and our business community, our educators get together and say something needed to change? One word: rigor. It's all about rigor. It's all about preparing our students to be more competitive. And I have to tell you, I'm going to assume that there are a number of teachers in this room. I'm a teacher. And it is the single most pro-teacher, pro-educator movement, I believe, since A Nation at Risk was published in 1980. Right now, 3/4 of the fastest growing jobs around the world, and certainly in the United States, require a high school diploma. And yet, did you know that just over half of our citizens have that diploma? The quality of our math and science lags so far behind that our students now rank 9th. These are the kinds of data that our leaders were looking at when they decided something needed to change. And we're focusing especially on reading and writing. Why? We all know that. Because, as this study shows from ACT, that essentially if I'm not prepared in reading, I have no chance of succeeding in science, and I have very little chance in math. But if I am prepared in reading, I have an exponential opportunity to succeed. And science and math are important because our country is the leader still, and we want to remain the leader. President Obama said we need to out-innovate, out-educate, and out-build the rest of the world. Because those who out-teach us today will out-compete us tomorrow. Everyone here cares about our kids. I think we would all agree with that. Scary fact. 75% of the kids who graduate in the United States are judged not able to pass the test to get into the United States military. Why? Because even though they get a high school diploma, they are not able to read at the level required on the test. Those statistics are part of the body of research that have led to these standards. Now, how did we get to this place, right? We spend a lot of money on education. We do. We have great teachers. Well, here's an example. This graph shows you the complexity of our textbooks. How hard are our textbooks over the last 100 years? Grade 4 and grade 8. The complexity of our textbooks has actually decreased. All the publishers know this. But what's happened in the world? Our world has become more complex.
Excuse me.
Yes, sir.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
This is nice and it sounds real good. But what about Lakewood? You talk about national numbers, state, global numbers. What about the scores in Lakewood?
Okay, so I will show you on a graph in a moment what's happening with your students right now relative to the program. But what I wanted to begin with was to give you a sense of what's behind the new requirements for Lakewood students. Because in 3 years, sir, what has to happen is we have to move our students today, the students that we consider proficient today in Lakewood, in the 5th grade, we have to get them to that same level by the 3rd grade. And actually what I'm showing you right here is why. This is called the text gap. The graph on the bottom, that's the difficulty of our average curriculum today. Okay? The higher graph, that's the graph of our advanced placement curriculum with our publishers. Over on the right, that's the level of difficulty to pass the military exam, the citizenship exam, to be successful in the workplace. I'm showing you this because these are the criticalities that have led to this new requirement. And I'm going to show you how we're addressing these right now today. According to the Reading Next report on adolescent literacy, 70% of our students in high schools have to have differentiated instruction, have to have special individualized instruction, because they're coming to high school already behind. So how do we address that? The Common Core standards, what we have to do here in Lakewood and across the country, is to focus on reading, but not just any kind of reading, nonfiction reading. Why? Because when I go, it's all about college and career readiness. When I go into the workplace, I'm not reading Shakespeare, right? Unless I'm a professor. I'm reading a technical manual. I'm reading the instructions. I'm reading nonfiction. I need to write, but it's a particular kind of writing. It's persuasive writing. I have to understand evidence. Why? Because when you go and you listen to the news or you read something and you're going to find a fact, today I have the entire combined knowledge. Yes, sir. The combined knowledge of the United States, the world, on my mobile phone. I have to be able to listen to C-SPAN and Fox News. I have to be able to understand what reality is. I have to be able to understand evidence and critical thinking. I have to be able to think critically. Why? Same reason. Think about all of the information that our kids are bombarded with. I have to be able to understand it and analyze it. Here are the requirements for Lakewood students. Excuse me. For students under the Common Core standards in 3 short years. Our students have to be writing persuasively more than 1/3 of the time in elementary, up to 40% of the time by 12th grade. Our informational text, if you have kids, what are your kids reading in school? Our informational text has to go to 1/2 nonfiction text in elementary by 4th grade. 55%, 70% by the end of high school, informational nonfiction text. Our libraries today are not filled with 3/4 nonfiction text. But these are the new requirements. Our instruction has to move from recall, being able to regurgitate a fact, to thinking, critiquing, evaluating, interpreting. These are the requirements for our students. In 3 years, we have to move them. And sir, you were asking me about kind of how does the program relate?
Yes.
This is the seminal data right here. Achieve 3000 is based on Lexile. I hope everyone knows Lexile is a measure of how we can read, how well we read. Over on the left, these are the Lexile scores today that your students would be judged to be called proficient. Okay? And by the 5th grade, an 850 Lexile. In 3 years, our students have to get to beyond that. They have to get to 980 in the 5th grade. They have to get to 790 by the 3rd grade. It's 2 grade levels, folks. We have to increase the ability of our students to read by 2 grade levels, and we have 3 years to do it. Because in 3 years, we will be taking the Common Core assessments. And I sit on the assessment panel. I'm going to show you what those assessments look like in a moment. We work with Red Bank, with Orange, we work up in Newark. And across the nation, we work with 1 million students. So, as we look at the standards...
Excuse me, how long have you been in this district so far?
In Lakewood,
yes.
Again, I want to point out that I'm a consultant with Achieve. So I don't know everything about Achieve 3000's history here. Ms. Silva might know.
Achieve 3000 was here before I came. At that time, I think it was 2008, 2009. It was geared towards the children in special needs. And in 2009, 2010, we started it with all the children, and we continued it for this coming year. And we shared the results in our last board meeting, but we can do it again for the public if you'd like.
You said for about 4 years?
No. Half a year before, in 2008, 2009, from my understanding, and then a whole year this past year, and it will continue this coming year.
So 2 years. I didn't get it. Hello. So now, based on your statistics that you have from last year, what has increased from last year?
About 2.5, actually, to get to the graph, if you want to see, right here, this is the data from Lakewood. This is the last academic year. And again, this is what's very unique here in Lakewood, or the students, because these are our normal growth that we would expect, and the actual growth of the students using the program here in Lakewood, nearly 2.5 times what we would expect. Now you might ask, and this is part of what I wanted to get across tonight, the 2.5 times feels really good because we have moved students 2.5 times beyond what we would expect. That's enormous. But in 3 years, sir, in 3 years that's not enormous. It's what we have to do, period.
What grade level is that?
Actually, the implementation here is at cross grade levels.
Okay. Can you break it down according to grade level?
We have it all in particular per grade. I gave it out at the last board meeting, but I'll bring it again. And one of the things that the audience should know is that Achieve 3000, which is why it's a good supplement to our regular literacy program, is that if the children are on the program and it's based on their level, they assess them, and they see where their level is, if they're on it 40 times, they are guaranteed, and very few companies do this, but they've been researched so much, if they're on it 40 times, the kids will go up 1 grade level. The more they're on it, the higher the achievement level. And again, this is not replacing what a teacher does. The research is very clear. The main impact on a child has been proven over and over is the teacher. The teacher and the kinds of things that are taking place there. This supplements though, and it's a good supplement, and we've seen it work in Lakewood. So what he's really talking about though is, what's our task for the next 2 years? I'm happy with this, I really am. It's 2.5 times what they do if the kids are on it, but basically what is being told to us is not good enough. So we've got to like step up, and all of us are superintendents, teachers, everybody's looking, okay, how do we do this? So especially in Lakewood. So I think what's being presented here is an overall thing. This is what we have to do, and then we have to figure out how we're going to get there. And one of the means is to achieve 3,000. So if you would finish, I know that...
Sure, you bet, you bet. If, and sir, if I could, again, my understanding was that some of the results have been shared, so I'll give you just a couple of more graphs, if you will. These are the results for your struggling readers, your students who are most behind. You can see that they also had substantial gains. You can see that your students gained more the more the program they used, and that the students were incredibly engaged, that more than almost 60% of your students were actually using it after school. I'll leave you with one last slide, if you permit me. And again, the goal was to help us understand where we're going and our new bar. We've all taken a standardized test. We all know what our students are accountable for. I'm showing you tonight what very few people in the United States have seen. This is a snapshot of the computer-generated, computer-adapted test that your students will be taking in just 3 years. And I want you to understand that it's not a multiple choice test. It's a test where students have to read. This is a 3rd grade test. If you look at the vocabulary there, they have to understand and infer, and they have to think critically. At Achieve, what's happening here, and the reason for the results in Lakewood, is because our students are not only reading in a differentiated way and writing, but because they're thinking critically. And that's what I would leave you with. That the Common Core standards you're implementing now, you're already implementing them with Achieve 3000. Because your students are reading and writing, but especially because they're thinking critically and they are taking computer-based assessments. Thank you.
Ms. Silva, another question. How many hours per class time do the kids spend on Achieve 3000?
I believe that the sessions themselves, and some of the teachers, and Derek can correct me if I'm wrong, a session I believe is 25 minutes.
We haven't been on it.
I'm sorry?
The younger grade levels haven't been on it this past year at all.
Right, it's not designed for the younger ones, it's 3rd through 6th, 8th grade.
Only 6, only 6.
Oh, okay, so we'll look at that.
Okay, so only the 6th grade.
Middle school is twice a week out of middle school.
Right.
Beloved speaking, can you stand up please so we can all hear?
The middle school was set 2 periods a week out of the social studies class, so they went twice a week in social studies, 42-minute period.
As one of the things that we're looking at, and we have to look and see how we best implement it, but one of the things that the speaker has indicated is that a lot of the literature that our kids are reading are stories. I love the stories. I love them forever. That's how I learned to read. One of the things that we have to do is get more expository, get more science reading, more things that are related to the sciences, to social studies. So when we have this session, and again, teachers can indicate to us whether or not it works, but in terms of the scores that I saw, it seemed to work. But then we have to expose the kids that this is one of the best ways. And one of the things that I was very impressed with that I want to share with you is that the Achieve 3000 has now affiliated itself with National Geographic. And National Geographic, for those of you who know, are like really at the center of really science and social studies. But it's very interesting for our kids. So that's the kind of thing that I'm looking to complement much more. One of the things that I was discussing with the the high school principal, who you'll meet in a few minutes because he's going to talk to you a little bit about the SIG grant, is that in the future, one of the things that we're looking at is the high school. For example, the high school will no longer just be a classroom with a teacher. There's going to be, the way we see it, is that there's going to be rows and rows of computers, whether they be iPads, or other kinds of technology, where our kids will be utilizing that in addition to what they're learning in classrooms. So that it's going to be a very different look, the way it is. Listen, I'm on this earth 6 decades, so the first time I saw it, it's going to be a very different look, but our kids are up to it. We got to keep up with it. And that's why Achieve 3000 is one aspect of our technology program. How we do it, we got to improve it. We got to improve it. If we're not doing it enough, or if we're doing it too much, we've got to look at that. But anyway, I wanted you all to see this very short presentation on what we're up against. I want to take this opportunity to also say that I am very, very happy. I want to thank the members in the audience who were part of the SIG committee, the School Improvement Grant Committee. We have been given notification that we did get it. We're one of the high schools that did get it. It was a competitive grant. It can be as much. They're not telling us exactly what we're getting yet, because we have to have a meeting with them, but it can be as much as $2 million a year to supplement what's taking place at the high school. I could talk about it, but I'd rather also take this opportunity. You met him in our last meeting, but I'd like for you to take the opportunity to meet again the principal who has been attending the SIG meeting workshops this week, and he will continue to go to the meetings. He's learned a lot about what the SIG grant will offer us. And if you don't mind, just for a few minutes, Al Gilson, our Lakewood High School principal, would you kind of come up?
Hi, thank you. My name is Al Gilson. It's a pleasure to be here. This is actually day 4 for me right now. And I'm very pleased to be here. I'm very fortunate actually to start my first day in Lakewood actually at a SIG grant training. Like Ms. Silva was talking about, the SIG grant opportunities that we have are going to be wonderful. What we're going to do is we're going to be able to provide small learning communities for the students. We're going to be able to personalize the environment for the teachers, the students, and the community, and tie a lot of people into the building. We're going to open up the year with a bang. Our master schedule, all we need to pretty much do right now is put a couple of things together. We're going to have things ready for teachers, ready for students. By the middle of August, all we've got to do is just make a couple of small modifications, and we're ready to go. We have a lot of great opportunities regarding technology. And in addition to technology, also professional development training. That's actually going to take place within the day. And in addition to that, the other thing is we're going to make sure that we're increasing attendance, physical attendance at high school, our graduation rate, and also, on top of that, increasing our scores that we're actually according to the state, such as our HESPA scores and things such as that.
Any questions, any thoughts? Well, we're looking forward to it. As we learn more and more about the SIG grant, we will be sharing with you different opportunities. Again, I want to thank the people like Mrs. Cutter, Pastor Wilson, Mrs. Bobke, Jamie Sass. I can't remember everybody's name, but everybody was represented. I'm sorry, Joanne Schleicher, that's right. And staff was represented, parents were represented, administration was represented, and we had a consultant who helped us with the writing of the grant. We were told it was a well-written grant, and that's the reason, part of the reason why we got it. So I'm very, very happy about the prospect of this grant to help us really move the agenda forward. Thank you, Mr. Gilson.
Thank you very much.
Excuse me. I have a question, please. With the SIG grant, do we have a state monitor who will give hours in the high school?
Yeah, it's wonderful. It actually has 100 days.
100 days.
100 days that it's actually dedicated. And the second year, what he would do, he would actually have 50 days to actually work.
Okay, so if I'm really reading and understanding the SIG grant, if we have a state monitor in the high school for 100 days, we don't need an assistant superintendent for 1 year, the first year.
I can only speak to you of the grant, and
I understand that, but I want to understand this for all the other board members.
Well, the sick person, yeah, the sick person is, actually the sick person is only tied to the high school, and the sick grant is exclusively for the high school and not for any of the other buildings in the district at all. So that person is exclusively for the enrichment of the high school and enhancement of the high school.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Through the chair. Through the chair. Ms. Silva, when this grant is actually starting, do we have a system in place? Because I've been reading, there's so many pages here, I only got to page 37. Are we actually ready to receive this grant? And once we do receive it, who's going to oversee the grant itself to make sure that everything that is written here is enforced?
Actually, his name is, they have a term for the officer. It's called the Network Turnaround Officer. His name is Michael Littlejohn, and he will be assigned, as Mr. Gilson indicated, he'll be assigned 100 days. So he will be, we met today, myself and Mr. Gilson, and one of the things that we will be doing, he and I will be talking on a regular basis about the implementation. Right now, what we're doing is looking at what we must do to make some small modifications. The commissioner has indicated that we will be meeting to determine the final amount of money. So the supposition is that we will begin in September, the first day of school.
Okay,
And the first year, everyone should understand, is the planning year, so that we can roll out many of the things that are in our plan. So the first year, there'll be a lot of collaboration with teachers, because one of the key things that came out in the SIG meetings that we had was that there was a need for much more collaboration between teachers, and we needed to have more opportunities for that to happen. So between the administration and the teachers, those kinds of things are going to take place, and that's what's exciting about it.
Okay. I think you kind of missed the question. The Michael Littlejohn will be a state monitor, correct?
Yes, there's a state monitor.
I was talking about who in the district is going to be overseeing the grant. Do we have a person in the district that's going to be overseeing the grant?
Yeah, I know I will be an integral part of this. That's why I've been going to, I have to go to the meetings.
There's a community advisory board that's built into this grant, and that is the people elected to also be on the grant writing committee. So the community is represented, the teachers from the high school are represented. They are an integral part of running that grant.
Yes, and I was seeing here that the meeting so many times a month. Is that committee still up and running?
It will have to be. That was
Part of the grant, through the chair, part of the grant is that committee needs to continue. It's not just, and it wasn't just, if I remember, the people from the high school, it also had community members, if I recall. Well, actually, you said teacher of high school.
No, and I said members.
Thank you. But the fact, Mr. O'Connor, I would just notify that 2 board members need to leave. Again, we need to conduct, this is an important topic, but we don't want those 2 members to leave, or 2 or 3 members, and then not have a quorum. So if we could respectfully get back to this, so we could just, because we don't have a quorum, we can't do anything. I was outside trying to find out some information on another matter the board has to. So, Mr. Bernard, if we could go out of turn, come back to this important topic.
All right, let's move the approval of the agenda.
There are some items that the board, if the public has the agenda, if you could follow along to remove from the agenda, if you could please announce those.
Remove on page 18, item number 26. And also on page 10, item number 7.
Can you just repeat that one more time for everyone's benefit?
Page 18, item 26. Page 10, item 7.
Are there any addendum? There are several addendums also, Mr. President, I've just been given. If I could have the board, please, the board is with me.
Can we have a copy of it?
I'll ask Ms. Rosie to make copies. Okay, she'll bring them. So we could do the agenda first, Mr. President, and then we could have copies. So does everyone know the two items, I believe, that are being removed, and the public, I believe, heard that also? Okay, is there a motion?
No.
Is there a motion?
Motion to move the agenda.
Second.
There's a second by Mr. Zlatkin and a first by Mr. Granat. Discussion?
Discussion.
Yeah, through the chair. I have a question. Page number 25, number 4, mobility specialist. What is that job title consist of?
I can answer that if you'd like, Mr. President. A mobility specialist is typically used for children, this is for public school children who are visually impaired. Again, I'm not giving you an exact, but I'll give you a surmise, if you will. Children who are visually impaired, whether totally or in part, they need to look at the environment. Are there steps? Are there the things that go around the carpet, borders, things like that, so we can make the facility appropriate for that public school child due to their visual impairment. Any other questions?
Page 15, letter 7. Gally, I'm not sure about Mr. Allison's first name, but also on page 21, she's also on that page as well. Is she a substitute teacher, or is she a 15, page 7?
All right, there seems to be, through the chair, a typo. I just checked with our LEA president as of July 1st. If I understand correctly, she was a substitute. Should she be hired, she obviously won't be a substitute because she would be teaching full-time. So if you approve page 15, number 7, then that page, that name on the substitute list on page 21 should be removed.
Also to page 26, number 5.
An augmentative communication, if you'd like me to answer.
Can Ms. Silver answer too?
Well, these are special ed things, but yes, she wants to
Special
answer.
ed, I guess you do that.
An augmentative communication is for children who have issues with communication, as the word. What they do is they evaluate the child to see what devices, sometimes it could be speaking devices, sometimes it could be different types of devices. We do have a duty for public school children who are classified to help promote speech and communication. They may communicate, there's a thing called a dynamite box. There's a thing, they use computers sometimes. We have to try to bring out of the child his or her potential. This evaluation is a specialized one to do that.
Do we have other consultants that do that as well for a less rate? Less than the rate of
Well, actually, as someone who, do we have consultants who do augmentative communication?
Well, would she be considered as a consultant?
Who is she?
Oh, the person, number 5. Is that a company, is that an evaluation? Is a group doing, or who?
It's going to be a group. It will be a group doing that. It will be a person who works for either, she has the certification, she or he, I don't want to say she, has the certifications to complete the augmentative communication. We rarely use that, but we do have kids who do have these significant communication needs.
And this is our first time ever having that kind of
Oh, I can't answer history, but I could say I don't think so. I don't think so, because I know we've been involved with kids at Oak Street, for example, who needed augmentative communication evaluation.
Page 33, letter 3 down at the bottom, cafeteria monitors. Are they teachers or are they outside people?
Ms. Silva?
I will indicate that I do not know, but they are definitely not teachers. I believe that they are in the realm of paras.
They are not teachers, if I may, and Ms. President, you could agree or disagree, verbally agree. They're not teachers, they're not paras. I say this respectfully, they are the people, we call them pejorative, lunch people, lunch ladies, lunch gentlemen, they work the cafeteria. They're not teachers and they're not
But
parents.
there's a
Mrs. President, this is not the way we're going to conduct it. Welcome to your presidency, but Ms. Silva should have the answer.
Well, that's why I'm asking. Now, they work for Aramark?
No, they do not work for Aramark, they're our people.
Who's people?
The district.
So they're not teachers?
They are not, well, I would hope a teacher does not make $10 an
Well,
hour.
that's what I'm saying. Do they, I don't understand. Are they full-time, are they part-time, are they per diem? What, I don't understand.
They are hourly people who work the lunchroom. That's why,
And that's all they do?
as far as I know, these people work the lunchroom per hour at an hourly rate.
Yes.
I'm a cafeteria monitor at schools last year. It is for 3 to 4 hours, and you monitor the students, make sure that there's no fight, make sure that the kids are going in line, make sure that they're eating, because some kids do sit down and not eat. Make sure that every child is eating for the day, and make sure every child gets a lunch. If they're in the nurse's office, we just assure that all students are safe and safe. And my name is Lakewood.
So are you are they considered security guards?
They're not.
No. They help the kids.
Well, this is the, excuse me, that's the situation. Now she just explained that they break up fights. And you know,
Ms. Brown, who is a...
I am a certified sub too, so
Right.
like for instance, at schools, if I were left alone in the cafeteria, I'll be okay because I'm certified. But some others may not, but we do go and talk to the principal, try to intervene, because sometimes the principals are busy, so we try to take care of it ourselves before we take it to the principal.
Now, you're a substitute teacher?
Yes, I am also. I've been a lunch monitor for 6 years, and also substitute.
Through the chair. Who prepared the agenda? Who put this on here?
It's a compilation of people, myself, people from the business, and obviously people from HR. So it's a combination of things.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Nice to see you again. Any other questions before we do a call? Seeing none? Oh, sorry. Just speak into your microphone so the public can benefit.
Is the, like, I have a question. Is the business administrator item considered part of the agenda as well? So if we pass the agenda, we're passing this as well?
Well, I have to be sure you are, because for fairness to you, on page, and I'm doing this quickly, page 2 and 3 and 4 deal with that. So it might be my opinion that it is, but I could be wrong.
Because I have a lot of questions about that as well. For example, Gus Kovakovich.
He's not here. Gus? No, he's not here.
Okay, but I have a question. He's, here? Oh, okay. Well, it's basically for him, receiving.
He's upstairs.
Okay.
Can we just have the question, thanks?
Okay.
Michael, I'm sorry.
Wait, he's in the middle of the...
There's no page number, but it's a line item here. A check was sent out to him in an amount of $7,917 from one account, and also the other account was $3,959 for him as well. What is the? I don't understand what that entails. Is that his paid full salary or what?
That is his fee for the time period that he is entitled to get paid for under his contract.
Okay. So every person that we write checks for, check to, but he works for the district.
He's a consultant.
He's a consultant,
Consultant for the district.
but he's also an employee of the district as well.
He's not a consultant.
Okay, that's what I was confused about. Okay.
Through the chair?
I think Mr. Tracy has some more questions.
Yeah, I have a lot of questions, but you know what? Lead ahead.
I just wanted to go back to, you know, the cost per diem for driving your child to school and so forth. And I think the price that we're paying is excessive. And I'd like to look for a motion to decrease that to $30 a day from $75 a day. I cannot believe we pay people to drive their children to school and give them $75 a day.
What I don't know.
Through the chair, if Mr. Fink brings a point up, we have the benefit of Ms. Bennell here, our transportation person, and if we could get Mr. Gus here. Mr. Craddock, can I ask you a favor? Mr. Gus is upstairs in his study. Can we have him come down to the meeting? It would be helpful. But Ms. Patty, what page are you talking about, Carl? Okay, so page 5 and 6. All right, page 5 and 6. Audience, please, we want to, for the benefit of the public, 5 and 6. Ms. Bennell, are you at liberty to respond to that question?
Yeah.
Could you do that loud enough so we all can hear?
Can you make your question more specific?
Well, let me say, because he has an eloquent way of saying things. Why are we paying $75? That's what he's asking, I think.
That is the rate from last year with a 1.23 increase, just like every other contractor. We went out to bid twice for these students. No takers at all. That's why the parents were given contracts.
Thank you. Okay.
Through the chair.
So, I'm not quite sure. I'm still losing this in
Don't say in transit, you may charge us $75.
I think that's excessive. I think it's insane, and I think it's insulting to the public. I think we need to reevaluate this, and if they want to drive their children to school, then so be it. Let them drive their children to school for nothing. I think the board needs to take action on that.
Mr. Fink?
Yes, sir.
I want you to have all the information before you make a decision. I'm trying to solicit that information from Ms. Bennell. Perhaps, is he coming down from his study? Let me ask some questions. Are these classified public school students?
Yes, I know.
Okay. So let me ask, for the benefit of the board and the public. You've tried to go out for bid, you have gone out for bid to bus these children to and from school?
Yes.
In your normal bid procedure?
Yes.
And no one picked up these children to pick up?
Correct.
In essence, would it be also fair, and I just want the board and the public to have the benefit, these children typically are significantly involved medically, is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Oxygen tanks, some of them, and I'm not, is that true?
Yes.
But nevertheless, you tried to go out to bid and have not had any bidders.
Correct.
In fact, the board, being responsible last year, asked you to go out twice, and this is ringing a bell to me, correct?
Yes.
And there were no takers?
No.
Okay. So, Mr. Fink, it's not typical regular ed students who don't feel like getting to school that day, because everyone in this town apparently gets bused. But in addition, this is for children who have specialized needs, who, from what I understand from Patty, they try to get, if you will, bus companies to pick them up, and they're unable to do it. Or ambulance services you've tried?
Yes.
And they haven't been. Legally, you have an obligation to get these kids to school as a related service. Under the related service page of the IEP, we have to transport. Gus, we were just, good afternoon, nice tan. We were just talking, that study must have a sun lamp. We were looking at, just a little humor, I hope no one minds. Page 5 and 6, if you could join me. These are the parent contracts. Ms. Bennell did an eloquent job responding that these are students who are special ed students who have significant medical and other needs, who we've gone out to bid twice, she says, to pick up, and we couldn't get anyone to pick them up. Is that something you agree to?
Yes, and that is provided for under the New Jersey statutes.
Which I was saying through the IEP process as a related service.
That's correct.
Are there any other questions now?
Yes, there is, for the benefit of the board and the public.
Oh. He always takes my lines, doesn't he?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I'd like to continue your line of questioning. You went out to bid and you didn't get any responses, am I correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so then how do you get this price?
How did you establish the $75? I think that's the question.
The money this year, okay, is a 120.
No, we know that, but how did you get the base?
What about last year?
That's what I said.
Who made up this price to begin with?
The first parental contract was
person, and it started at $50 a day. And that goes back to Mrs. Futo's time.
Was that an
And it has
arbitrary
just-
number?
What was
No, I'm pretty sure that she figured it out, that it was 180, she went to the cap, whatever the bid threshold was at that particular time, divided it by the amount of school days, and that was the amount of money she got per day. So
Well,
in
it
other
comes out
words,
right now that we're paying about $16,000 a year. I believe the threshold is about $800.
no, the threshold is $17,200.
You're mixing up two apples and oranges. When you say the 800, that's a non-public child.
Right.
These are public school children, which is different, Mr. Seiler.
The key, Mr. Seidler, if I may interject, is the IEP. If there's an IEP, that is
No,
what's...
I got that, but
Yeah,
my question is, the number that we're picking here seems to be arbitrary. What you're saying is that there is a threshold. Now, if we would go back and say we're only giving $50 a day, what would happen?
Well,
Nothing with that.
the price that you give a parent on a parental contract is something that is typically negotiated. And the parent obviously is aware that there's a legal obligation on the part of the Board of Education to provide the transportation. It is mandated.
May I just say one footnote, because I've had a case against the district that I sued likewise. The parent could say, you gotta bus me. I had a case actually against Manalapan, I believe, school district, where I insisted the district bus the child. I don't care what it cost. This was an autistic child. I felt it